but they're buried deep. Echoes of screams haunt me in my sleep. Shadows fall. The shadows linger. The truth remains untold. This one's for Abby and Libby. Murder on the Manon, blood on the tracks. 2 lives stolen, I'm bringing them back. Whispers in the trees, secrets in the air. The killer's out there, but I'm well aware. Clues in the dirt, but they're buried deep. Echoes of screams haunt me in my sleep. Abby and Libby, your voices won't fade. I'll shine a light till justice is made.
Through the silence, I hear their cries. The truth is out there, no more lies. The path is dark, but I'm walking through. Down the hill where the answers brew. Soaring.
Murder on the Manon, their voices call. The shadows fall as I break the walls. Murder on the Manon, no secrets to hide. Justice is coming, I'm on their side. The trail's gone cold, but I feel the heat. Truth's a puzzle, and I'll complete. Every day, every clue I chase, piecing together the killer's face. Down the hill where darkness crept, 2 angels silenced, the world still wept. But I'll keep digging, I won't let it rest. Abby and Libby deserve the best.
Through the fog, I'll clear the way. No more silence, no delay. Every step, I feel their plea. Justice lives through me.
Soaring. Murder on the Manon, their voices call. The shadows fall as I break the walls. Murder on the Manon, no secrets to hide. Justice is coming, I'm on their side. Shadows fall. The shadows linger. The truth remains untold. This one's for Abby and Libby. Murder on the Manon, blood on the tracks. 2 lives stolen, I'm bringing them back. Whispers in the trees, secrets in the air. The killer's out there, but I'm well aware. Clues in the dirt, but they're buried deep. Echoes of screams haunt me in my sleep. Abby and Libby, your voices won't fade. I'll shine a light till justice is made.
Through the silence, I hear their cries. The truth is out there, no more lies. The path is dark, but I'm walking through. Down the hill where the answers brew.
Soaring. Murder on the Manon, their voices call. The shadows fall as I break the walls. Murder on the Manon, no secrets to hide. Justice is coming, I'm on their side. The trail's gone cold, but I feel the heat. Truth's a puzzle, and I'll complete. Every day, every clue I chase, piecing together the killer's face. Down the hill where darkness crept, 2 angels silenced, the world still wept. But I'll keep digging, I won't let it rest. Abby and Libby deserve the best.
Through the fog, I'll clear the way. No more silence, no delay. Every step, I feel their plea. Justice lives through me.
Soaring. Murder on the Manon, their voices call. The shadows fall as I break the walls. Murder on the Manon, no secrets to hide. Justice is coming, I'm on their side.
Started with Delphi, now they've taken on the world. 2 true crime YouTubers, their mission unfurled. Greeno investigates the unsolved with precision. Mob searching for the missing till the case meets conviction. Traveling state to state, exposing what's wrong. Corruption in the shadows where it's lingered too long. Solving the murder, bringing the stories alive. They're here now, dual stream. Welcome to True Crime Live. Like, share, subscribe, and get notified. Follow them on Facebook, stay tuned on X worldwide. On Mozzie on the evidence and Greeno Southern grind. Together they're unstoppable, 2 voices, 1 fight. Greeno's got the camera, the editing's on fire. His southern style's raw, sparking controversy and desire. Marv's got the strategy, a voice that won't quit. Justice matters, she's relentless, every piece has to fit. They're streaming the truth, traveling far and wide, state to state, case to case, never choosing to hide. Searching for the lost, solving crimes left untold. Together they're a force, unwavering and bold. It grows heavier with the electric bolt. Like, share, subscribe and get notified. Follow them on Facebook, stay tuned on X Worldwide. I'm Marvy on the evidence and Greeno Southern grind. Together they're unstoppable, two voices, one fight. The Doodle's got the camera, the editing's on fire. His southern style's raw, sparking controversy and desire. Marv's got the strategy, a voice that won't quit. Justice matters, she's relentless, every piece has to fit. They're streaming the truth, traveling far and wide, state to state, case to case, never choosing to hide. Searching for the lost, solving crimes left untold. Together they're a force, unwavering and bold. It grew live streaming, it's the truth on demand. With a camera in his hand, Green.
Uh-oh. My internet's been being weird. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Evidence, the podcast where we dive deep into true crime cases, uncovering the facts and exploring the unanswered questions that keep us coming back for more. I'm your host, Marv, and I want to thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can find links to my PayPal and Cash App in the description. Now, let's get into today's topic.
Breaking all the patterns, facts and theories, clues and controversy. Join the journey, uncovering the mystery. This is Beyond the Evidence, where justice prevails, with Marv leading the way. Truth never fails. Now get ready for this live stream. Super chat, highlight your message. Don't fall victim to the irrelevance. Hit that like, share, subscribe to Marv's Beyond the Evidence.
What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the True Crime Rewind Podcast. I'm Anthony Greeno.
Time to hit the stop button. You seek the answers, but you never know what you'll find last. When you
dark and mysterious world of the missing and murder. You seek the answers, but you never know what you'll find last. When you rewind, this is the True Crime Rewind podcast. True Crime Rewind. This is the True Crime Rewind podcast.
Anthony, a little help here would be appreciated. I don't know what I'm supposed to click on. Hello, everybody. Good evening.
In the audio section, under assets.
Can barely hear you, buddy.
Audio section. Same.
Oh, it's me. I forgot to turn up my volume.
It should be in the media assets. What's up, everybody? Yeah, it should be in the media assets. If you click on that on the right side of the screen, there should be an audio file that says music in the background.
Rewind.
Is it that?
I can't hear it. Yeah, but I can't hear it.
True Crime Rewind podcast. Oh. Rewind. True Crime Rewind podcast. Oh.
What's going on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, or wherever the hell you're watching from? I'm Anthony Greeno from True Crime Investigates. Currently, I am transitioning to another channel where I've developed a brand new podcast that I will be converting into video after the completion of Murder on the Monon, which I anticipate will be completed on 2/14/2025, marking 8 long years that I have been following this case. If you are interested in listening to my in-depth true crime coverage on the Delphi Murders and other true crime cases, then you want to subscribe to the show on Spotify or Apple Podcast.
You can even follow us on Facebook to catch live streams.
Just head on over and hit the like button
and share your favorite clips and episodes to your friends. Episodes 1 through 9 are out now, some covering the Delphi Murders case. The case is over, with talk of an appeal.
But I'm here to tell you about it all, right now on the True Crime Rewind podcast.
Where you need to be.
Subscribe to the new YouTube channel for live streams.
Join case discussion with call-in nights
and giveaways.
Learn more about the release of Murder on the Monon, as we reveal more behind-the-scenes footage and promotional content detailing clips of the series for the future.
In episode 1 of the True Crime Rewind, Delphi Murders final chapter, Greeno and Marv explained the key aspects of the case timeline, the jury trial and sentencing for the bridge guy, Richard Allen. A somber moment in time that left us with hope for the future, that the event that has haunted our dreams was finally over. After 8 long years. Case closed. In episode 2, the hellish nightmare returns as the Odinism theory comes back into the spotlight, pushing people to join in on the campaign to free a convicted killer. Episode 3 highlighted transparency within the judicial branch of the government, as Anthony Greeno has now flip-flopped his opinions on his stance, files a cease and desist with the court, and moves Judge Gull to comply with law, as he pushes for transparency with court documents and a little too much secrecy. Things got interesting in episode 4, the rising fall of Diddy, showcasing celebrity rap star Sean P. Diddy Combs, formerly known as Puff Daddy. The sex scandals and charges. Well, that I got to get my ass in gear and refute these bullshit claims. In episode 5, the podcast takes a turn to a more informative approach, sharing our experiences with partners in a rapidly evolving world of artificial intelligence and its impact on various sectors, including true crime. In this episode, they break down what's real and what's really cool about AI, exploring how it's transforming investigations, solving cold cases, and even predicting criminal behavior. Number 6. Uncovered former police chief Nathaniel Nate Lamar, an outsider who once championed the fight against corruption, now finds himself embroiled in allegations of perjury and misconduct. We explore Lamar's rapid resignation and the immediate impact on a community already grappling with trust issues. Episode 7 details a riveting discussion with a juror from the Delphi murder trial of Richard Allen. Gain exclusive insights and first-hand perspectives on the case as they unravel the complexities and implications of this high-profile trial. But last time on the True Crime Rewind, Episode 8 became a little more twisted as Anthony Greeno and Alliston I explore the pivotal blood evidence found in the F-Tree conspiracy, which experts debunked of having been committed by members of the Norse pagan religion of Odinism. Forensics blood spatter. Expert Patrick Cicero testified the marking was more like an L and was caused by the hand of Libby German during the attack. Coming up tonight.
So, listen up. YouTube,
Facebook,
TikTok,
podcast platforms,
or wherever the hell you're watching from.
If you're ready, so are they. So hold on social media, because it's about to get lit up in this bitch. Yeah, I said it. Anthony Greeno and Alliston I are about to lay the smackdown on the defense daddies on the new podcast.
Where the human mind and artificial intelligence combine to bring you the True Crime Rewind podcast.
helping us learn how to break down crimes,
uncover the truth,
and get the answers that you deserve.
Now that is what I'm talking about.
Let's bring back the Greeno Productions VIP membership options.
Join me, Anthony Greeno, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, live streaming.
What that means is you need to take your ass over to the True Crime Rewind podcast.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Find us on TikTok,
Facebook,
or wherever the hell you're watching from. Again, I guess. I've never had to do that twice before.
Oh, wow. I could hear you say that all day long, Anthony.
Alliston, if I didn't know better, I'd say you're flirting.
Your voice is just so, I don't know how to describe it. It's so captivating and deep. It's like daybreak sun on a cold desert night.
Huh?
What the hell did she just say?
I don't even want to know, Carter.
I don't know how you programmed her, Anthony, but it's almost like she's starting to develop her own personality.
How? That isn't possible.
It isn't?
I don't think.
Clearly you didn't on this one.
I'm gonna show you something else you didn't know was possible. Oh my God, Anthony. Lou, look, hey boys, take a look at
On that note, everybody, I'm Anthony Greeno from the True Crime Rewind podcast. See you there and keep it Southern style. Y'all.
Episode 9. All Eyes on the Delphi Dipshits.
Welcome to episode 9 of True Crime Rewind with Anthony Greeno, All Eyes on the Delphi Dipshits. This week, we're diving into the baseless theories, misinformation, and flat-out lies spread by conspiracy channels like All Eyes on Delphi, Michelle After Dar, The Prof, and others. These so-called penny pushers thrive on manipulation and speculation, refusing to accept facts when they don't align with their narratives. It's time to call them out for what they are, full of crap.
Breaking down the bull.
Let's address the elephant in the room, the obsession with connecting Odinism to the murders. Not a single person in these Facebook groups has provided any concrete evidence to support this claim. They insist that someone said it, and that alone is supposed to be proof. Guess what? It's not. That's hearsay, not evidence.
Case in point, Elvis Fields.
These conspiracy theorists love to fixate on Elvis Fields, a man with the mental capacity of a 7-year-old. They want him locked up based on his statements alone. Here's what they conveniently ignore. GPS evidence. Fields' GPS location shows he never left Rushville on the day of the crime or in the days surrounding it.
Crime scene details. His statements didn't match the actual details of the crime scene.
Credibility. An officer testified that both Fields and his sister were fabricating information. Both suffer from severe mental health disorders, including schizophrenia and paranoid delusions.
Alibi: Fields was seen at a convenience store near his home in Rushville, Indiana, at 2:44 p.m. on the day of the crime.
This fixation on Fields is a perfect example of how these channels twist facts to fit their narrative. Ladies and gentlemen, someone said is not evidence. If you base your theories on conjecture, maybe it's time to get off your ass and do some real investigating. You might find yourself a little less angry. Get ready, YouTube. It's time for the rewind. Greeno and Marv are back in a dual live stream to rewind the Delphi Murders case and go beyond the evidence in an investigation into this so-called confession of Ron Logan to inmate Ricci Davis, who's serving 50 years for dealing methamphetamine. Tonight we have the polygraph taken by Davis by investigators. And the big question is, did he pass or fail? Find out tonight if the story told by Ricci Davis is truth or a lie. Right now, live.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the live stream. I'm Anthony Greeno, and as always, I'm joined by my partner in crime, Marv. Tonight, we've got a loaded topic to dive into, so buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride.
That's right, Anthony. There's been some buzz lately about Richard Allen's defense team, their push to overturn his conviction, and the alleged confession by Ron Logan. We're here tonight to break it all down for you, separate fact from fiction, and bring some clarity to these claims. Let's get into it.
All right, let's start with the big news. Richard Allen's defense team filed a verified motion to correct errors, asking the court to vacate his conviction or hold a hearing based on what they claim is newly discovered evidence.
They're pointing to an alleged confession from Ron Logan, the owner of the property where Abby and Libby's bodies were tragically found. According to the defense, Logan allegedly confessed to another inmate back in 2017 while he was at the Newcastle Correctional Facility.
Now, for those of you following the case, you know Ron Logan was thoroughly investigated by law enforcement at the time. ISP Lieutenant Jerry Holman, one of the lead investigators, even said, "When you find two murdered teens on someone's property, they become a suspect." But after multiple search warrants, interviews, and a deep dive into his alibi, law enforcement ultimately cleared him.
Exactly. Lieutenant Holman explained that Logan lied about his alibi back then. He claimed his cousin drove him to a pet shop in Lafayette, but it turned out he drove himself, which was a violation of his parole. Despite that, there was no evidence connecting him to Abby and Libby's murders.
And now, fast forward to this alleged confession. According to the defense, Ron Logan told another inmate, Ricci Davis Jr., that he killed the girls, burned his clothes in a fire pit, and even described using box cutters. But here's where it gets interesting. The tip about this confession was placed in the Orion system, but marked as discontinued in 2023. That raises a lot of questions.
It's worth noting that during Allen's trial, the defense requested to have Ricci Davis brought in to testify about this alleged confession, but the judge denied it, saying there wasn't enough proof connecting Logan to the crime to justify his testimony.
And let's not forget how the defense tried to shift focus onto Brad Weber, a Carroll County resident whose driveway runs under the Monon High Bridge. They questioned his timeline, claiming it was off, and that his white van might have spooked the suspect. But again, law enforcement didn't find anything substantial there either.
So tonight, we're going to debunk the Ron Logan theory and explain why it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Law enforcement thoroughly investigated him years ago, and there was no credible evidence linking him to the crime.
To help you all dive deeper, we're also including another video for you to check out. Displays the link to the video, https www.youtube.com watch v46.p3 to read tools 5 song This will give you additional context and help you understand how the case has evolved over time.
At the end of the day, we're here to find the truth and honor the memories of Abby and Libby. Let's stick to the facts, hold people accountable, and continue to demand justice for the girls.
That's right, Marv. All right, folks, stick around, grab your notes, and let's break it all down together. As always, we want to hear your thoughts, so drop them in the chat. Let's do this.
Stay safe, stay vigilant, and we'll see you next time.
You mean now, since we are live streaming?
Of course I do, silly. But first, let's review that video from Fig Solves, and then give our take on his take.
Alliston, I'm going to have you sit this one out, but pay close attention to what we discuss. You and I will be making a podcast based on tonight's with Marv.
Got it, Anthony. I'll listen in and review the information and create a script for us to use. I'll create some music custom to fit the tone, and I can already tell you're in to piss some people off.
What, you are? You better not be threatening anyone anymore.
No comment.
What?
Just a kidding, you dirty mother. Fuh.
Affiliate links.
Support the podcast and check out our affiliate partners:
Cash App,
Opus,
StreamYard,
11 Labs.
Contact the team and be a guest on the show.
Got something to share? Email us at thetruecrimerewindpodcast@gmail.com.
Remember, in a world filled with crime and chaos, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. Because the truth is out there, somewhere.
Hello, everybody. We are going to start out tonight reviewing a video by a great content creator. And this is by Fig Solves. And Anthony and I are going to put in our commentary as we're viewing this, because this is one of the best, well-put videos we have seen regarding Ron Logan. So we're going to start the video. We're going to stop it. We're going to talk about it. It gives a lot of information as to debunking why Ron Logan is Bridge Guy. A lot of this information has been seen before, but if anybody is new in the chat and doesn't have the history of it, that's what's going to tell us and give us a refresh. So, I'm blurry. I'm just checking. I'm not sure why I'm blurry. Anthony's trying to restart his phone. So, we're going to start watching this video, and then hopefully his equipment will be working. All right. So we're going to go into debunking why Ron Logan is Bridge Guy, and then we're going to go into all the information that dropped from the defense team.
Out for you the reasons why Ron Logan is not Bridge Guy. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind with this video, but hopefully I'm able to give you some information that you didn't have before so you can make a more educated decision on if Ron Logan was Bridge Guy or not. But here's a hint, he's not. Let's go.
Scott, this investigation here, search started 6 hours ago. There's no sign of it letting up soon. We have the FBI, state, and local police searching the house, the garage, the outbuildings, the field behind the outbuildings, even into the woods. This is just a few hundred yards away from where the girls' bodies were found. Police seized hands full of evidence, hauled away Ron Logan's pickup truck, and searched the home, garage, and farm buildings with the help of a canine. Investigators.
Now, that's important news. The house, the farm, the outbuildings were all searched. Okay? So that gives details as to what was searched on Ron Logan's property. And that's very important because a lot of people have asked in the past, well, what exactly did they search? Well, now we know.
Warn against drawing any conclusions. Since their investigation began 4.5 weeks ago, they've conducted dozens of searches, interviewed scores of potential suspects, and given some of them polygraph tests. Police arrested Logan earlier this week on an unrelated probation violation. He has a history of drunk driving convictions.
So that answers the question that was in the chat earlier. He was on probation.
But no record of more serious or violent crimes.
By driving a vehicle and consuming alcohol in February. Now, a friend of his came to the defense of the 77-year-old that is, in court today.
I mean, many times I've spent time with him, and so I would have been willing to do anything for him. He's a good guy.
I really wish Anthony was here because that woman looks familiar. I've talked to her face to face and I don't remember what her name is. So if anybody can tell me, well, let me know.
Okay, here's not only the main reason why law enforcement thinks Ron Logan is innocent.
Now we're going to get into
Did you know that Amazon has a 50 million?
So now we're going to get into the details right now.
Was that day. They know that Ron Logan was on the road at 3:50 p.m. for a 30-minute drive to Aquarium World, where he was from 4:20 p.m. to 5:20 p.m. There's not only witnesses that confirm this, but there's also a receipt to prove that this trip happened and where he was at what time. I think they also use cell site location.
All right, so I'm going to back this up a little bit so that everybody can take a look at it. Let me put this on the big screen here. So this is, I led Logan to a polygraph room on the second floor of the whatever. Polygrapher John Egan was waiting there to conduct the test. I left and returned downstairs. I contacted Aquarium World by telephone to confirm Logan's alibi. Jocelyn stated that they did not have security cameras on the property, but that Logan's purchased information by using a name search. He advised using a Visa card at 17:20 hours on 2/13. Jocelyn said he did not, and I can't see the full thing, so we're just reading what we can see, that the employee that did help was not currently working. And that he would call when he came to work around 1500 hours. And that this individual called him at about 15:05 and stated that he remembered him because he purchased so many fish. That he was a male with gray hair. So yes, 3:50 p.m. is after the murders. All right, let's continue on here.
They also use cell site location information to triangulate his location. If you want proof that they had used his cell phone data, look no further.
Sorry about that. So we're going to read this. The tower data shows that Logan's cell phone was in Delphi area, in the area of the Monon High Bridge Trail. The initial exam of this analysis indicates Logan's phone was likely outside of his residence and in the proximity of where LG and AWS bodies were located. An analysis of Logan's cell phone data revealed a text message received by his phone at 10:16 p.m. on February 13th, 2017.
Further than the March 17th FBI search warrant. So yes, it seems like I'm claiming they knew Ron Logan wasn't responsible for the murders before they did a search warrant on his house. And yes, that's what I think, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Keep in mind, when writing a search warrant, law enforcement is going to pick and choose what information they include. They're obviously only going to include the things that make a person look guilty. Right. So here's how the FBI used Ron Logan's cell phone data to make him look guilty. For example, Libby and Abby were abducted at 2:13 p.m. on February 13th, 2017, and they knew that Ron Logan was on his phone at 2:09 p.m. They also know who he was talking to, and they also know how long that phone call was. So what would you think if Ron Logan was on the phone call from 2:09 p.m. until, say, 2:25 p.m.? Knowing the girls were abducted at 2:13 p.m. and Bridge Guy was recorded by Libby's phone, you would have to ask, was Bridge Guy on the phone during the abduction? Didn't seem like it. Now, using cell phone data, they couldn't tell exactly where he was, but again, they leave things out. So if his flip phone did have GPS, like a lot of them did, that statement would be something like this. Using GPS data, we were able to determine where Ron Logan was within 10 to 15 feet of his location, which was inside of his house. Whoops, better not put that in the search warrant. So that would show that he was at his house.
So do you see how the wording in the PCA is so important?
It's made so they can get the warrant. If they don't put that stuff in there, the judge isn't going to grant it. They're going to say, well, if you don't think that they're a suspect, we're not giving you a warrant.
Right.
Sorry.
So they have to word things very carefully to make it look like he's guilty.
Or at least, insinuate that there's a probability that they could find something there.
Right. Right. All right.
At 2:09. Therefore, he's not Bridge Guy. I'm just making the claim that I believe cell phone data played a huge part in determining Ron Logan was not Bridge Guy. All right, let's go back to the March 17th search of Ron Logan's property. I was always curious as to what took them so long to search his property, because after all, it was the property where the girls' bodies were.
Why do you think, Anthony, it took them so long to go and search Ron Logan's property? Because they made searches before that. But since the girls were found there, you would think that would be one of the first searches they did.
Well, they didn't need a search warrant. The first time, they didn't need a search warrant. It was exigent circumstances. So they actually were searching around the area. So they were searching his woods and the area to see if they could find any evidence. Now, this video here details 2 different search warrants. So because the girls were found there, that gives them a right to be able to investigate that area. That's one. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So they have a right to do that. Now, they never went back and searched his house and his outbuildings until later on. But this is the second warrant that they have. So there's 2 of them. And one of them's the one that Fig talks about in here is one that most people don't hear about or talk about or know about.
Right.
I think that it took that long for them to figure out the inconsistencies in his statements. When someone called in and says, hey man, he kind of lied about who was driving there that day. I don't know why he would lie, but you might want to take a look. And that's when they went back and says, well, we found some things that weren't true and we're trying to either put him as a higher suspect on our list or clear him. That's what we're here for, is what Kim Riley said at the search.
All right, let's continue on.
Were found. I mean, they searched at least 3 other houses before they searched Ron's. They searched the Maxwells, the Kleins, and the Webbers. So it seems like they would have searched Ron Logan's first, but what do I know? All right. Regardless of when they searched his property, after they knew that he was elsewhere during the crimes, they still wanted to know if the killer left anything at his property, maybe even without Ron realizing that the killer left something. It's also possible that they wanted to know if Ron was involved in the murders in some way without him having to actually be there. Maybe they wanted to see if they could find anything that suggested Ron was aiding and abetting the actual killer.
50% of the
That's interesting.
I don't think that he was aiding and abetting the killer, but those are all things that they probably want to look for during the course of an investigation. And so when people say that he wasn't thoroughly
later,
do what?
And that's why they went back 3 weeks later.
Yeah, to try to figure it out, you know, and it's like, well, you know what, things aren't adding up here. Let's go back and take a look here. Because, I mean, look, they had to double back down on Richard Allen. So,
right.
And they doubled down on everybody.
At that time, they didn't know about Richard Allen.
Well, they did, but they didn't. They did, but they didn't. Because he called them right away, right?
Right.
Number 74. He was the 74th person to make a tip. Which is kind of weird.
Location poses a forensic challenge, but it could also be a clue. Authorities train their focus on the man who owns the land where the bodies were found, a 77-year-old retiree named Ronald Logan.
I didn't realize he was 77 at that time.
His property.
He died at 82.
The process was to determine, did he have some form of a connection? Did he know someone? I mean, it's an area where he does allow individuals to hunt on that property.
So on February 13th, 2017, Ron Logan made 2 trips that day. He drove twice. One, he went to the transfer station, the recycling center, from 11:38 a.m. to 12:13 p.m. The second trip, he went to Aquarium World. It's a fish store about 30 minutes away, and that trip was from 3:50 p.m. until 5:50 p.m. And how do I know these details? Well, a big piece of information that has been missing from the general public is this 5-page ISP report. It essentially is a report on an interview that took place between an ISP officer and Ron Logan. This took place on March 15th, 2017. And here's what it says. On Thursday, February 16th, Detective Tim Kendall spoke to Logan at his residence. Logan told Kendall that on 2/13, he woke up around 9 o'clock and then worked outside with his farm animals. Logan said that his cousin, David Nolf, came to his house around noon. According to Logan, Nolf drove him to the transfer station outside of Delphi to drop off trash.
Well, we know that wasn't true because they got him on video driving himself.
Exactly. He lied about that.
Well, yeah, that wasn't the only thing he lied about, but, you know, that was kind of odd to me when this all came out that he said, you know, that his cousin drove him to the transfer station. So he did lie a few times in all of this.
He didn't have a driver's, you know, that's why he was on probation. He wasn't allowed to be driving, you know.
Right, or drinking.
Yeah, exactly. And they probably said, well, how did you get there? And he probably said, okay, well, you know, my cousin drove me instead of I drove a truck when I'm not supposed to be driving it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And he went to jail because they revoked his probation, correct?
Yes, they revoked it and gave him a 4-year sentence and then eventually modified it after a year.
Okay. I'm going to keep playing this.
Okay, so here's the original FBI search warrant statement. Logan did not ask Nolf to provide an alibi for his drive to the transfer station on February 13th, 2017. Logan only asked Nolf to provide an alibi for a trip that would have occurred at the time of the apparent abduction of LG and AW. So now that we have the 5-page ISP report and this information that came from it and comparing it with the FBI search warrant, now we know that that FBI search warrant was misleading at best. Ron absolutely lied about both the transfer station and the fish store.
Yep.
And this shows that he lied because he was trying to cover up for the fact that he was driving. And whether he asked his cousin to lie for him about the transfer station is irrelevant. The fact that he lied to the police is what's important, because that trip to the transfer station was so much earlier than the murders, it was irrelevant to the murders. But he lied about it anyways, because he wanted to cover up again for driving, not for the murders. And another thing that I realized after looking at both the ISP report and the FBI search warrant is that I was incorrect when I thought Ron provided a false alibi, because I've said that before. Well, and it does use that word alibi right in here, but a false alibi means presenting incorrect information about one's location during the time a crime was committed to avoid getting in trouble. And Ron Logan never actually lied about a time or a location. The only thing he lied about was who was driving.
So that's a great point, Anthony. You know, about the alibi part. Yeah, the alibi is the place and the time. So he gave the correct information as to where he went when he went there. He just lied about how he got there.
How he got there, and that's what he didn't want them to know, and the fact that he was drinking. So it's misleading when media outlets and things say Ron Logan lied about his alibi, because he didn't lie about where he was. He just lied about how he got there, back and forth. That was it. So he was where he said he was.
And that's how they knew that he was telling the truth about where he was. They have a receipt for the fish store. They've got him on video for the transfer station with the times and everything. So they knew he was telling the truth about that, but they knew something was off, and that's why they nailed him for driving when he shouldn't have been.
Yeah, and I was sitting right there in court watching it all go down with him at his guilty plea and his sentencing.
I remember that.
He never lied about where he went or the time that he went there. So I apologize for any confusion, because I had in the past said that Ron Logan did lie about his alibi, and that's wrong. Now, lying to law enforcement about anything is definitely suspicious, but I just wanted to be clear that Ron had a bunch of motivation to lie about driving on February 13th or driving anytime, because if law enforcement knew that he was driving, he knew that he would get thrown in prison, which he did.
Handcuffed and shackled, Ronald Logan pleaded guilty to
I'm in this video.
charge of being a habitual traffic violator today.
I'm on the right side right here talking to Ron.
Suspended license and drinking alcohol, violations of his probation.
So why would Ron ask his cousin at 9 a.m. on the 14th to cover for him? Well, that's because on February 13th, the night before, his neighbors and volunteers and law enforcement were searching the area. And knowing that he broke the law earlier that day by driving without a license, and knowing that he would go to prison if he was caught doing that, he came up with a plan. I mean, it's pretty obvious if you have law enforcement looking for missing girls around your property, that they're eventually going to talk to you. They're going to want to know where you were and what you did that day. If you tell them that you were driving around, you're going to go to prison. So that's why Ron lied. He asked his cousin to say that he drove him around that day. Ron never lied about where he was or what time he was there. The only thing he lied about was who drove, because he simply didn't want to go to prison.
The truth is, behind closed doors.
And that's the thing, is that the whole reason he lied is because if he got caught driving and drinking, his probation was what is the word that they use for that?
Revoked and remanded. Yep.
And he would have to serve his remaining time, which is exactly what happened.
4 years. Judge Curtis Fouts.
Until they got him out on a technicality.
Well, he modified his sentence, and Fouts let him because he was old.
And they let him out, right.
From Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
And we'll get a look at weather and traffic for you in a moment. But first, we do want to get to that breaking news from overnight. A desperate search to find 2 young teenage girls reported missing.
2 Indiana families filled with uncertainty this morning. Our Naomi Peskovitz is in Delphi right now, where volunteers searched, Naomi, really late into the night trying to track down these girls. What's the latest on the situation there?
Yeah, and Ben and Julia, we've seen people walking into this trail over the last hour or so, volunteers who don't even know the family. Also online, folks are saying they are still out searching, even though it's dark, it's early in the morning, and the official crews, law enforcement, they have stopped their search for the evening, and they'll continue when the sun comes up.
And there's another point I want to make about Ron Logan and how he was lying. In the FBI search warrant, it states Logan told NELF to say he returned around 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. But thanks to the ISP report that we now have, we know that Ron arrived at the fish store at 4:20 and he left by 5:20 p.m. There's a receipt that proves that. So the earliest he got home was 5:50 p.m., not between 5 and 5:30 p.m. as initially stated. Now, the murders occurred at 3:30 p.m. So why would he lie to make it look like he was home?
That's incorrect. It would be 2:30.
Normally, if someone were to fabricate,
that's a misspeak.
Right.
their whereabouts to avoid suspicion, they would claim a time far removed from the crime, not closer. So the fact that he lied and he made it closer to the crime time shows that he never tried to provide a false alibi. He just didn't want law enforcement to know that he was driving that day. And to point something out so it doesn't get overlooked is Ron Logan had to leave his house at 3:50 p.m. and at 3:57, there was a man seen walking down the road looking muddy and bloody, or maybe like he just got in a fight, towards a CPS building where the killer parked. And at 3:57 p.m., Ron Logan was driving on the road heading to the fish store. Translation, Ron Logan isn't bridge guy.
So basically, he just, within minutes, he just missed Muddy and Bloody guy.
Correct. He just missed him. Probably within minutes. So
Right.
if he would have been there any longer, or they would have left afterwards, they would have seen the Muddy and Bloody guy.
Right. Instead of Sarah or Carbaugh.
Exactly. Or both. They both would have seen him. Then that would have made it even worse for Richard Allen.
Yeah, maybe.
But if you still want proof, we could keep going. So back to the timeline and why Ron Logan isn't bridge guy. From the ISP report, Ron was in that fish store for about an hour. He checked out at 5:20 p.m., so that means he got to the fish store at 4:20 p.m. The search warrant tells us that it's a 30-minute drive to get to the fish store from his house. So that means he would have had to leave his house at about 3:50 if he was in fact in the store for an hour, which from what I'm told, that's correct. And since the girls were killed at 3:30, so from 3:30 to 3:50 in 20 minutes, 77-year-old Ron Logan would have to walk from the crime scene to his house, gets there, has to take off his clothes before going inside, take off your shoes, take off your jacket, all that stuff, probably take a shower. You would have to then get dressed after, then you would probably have to clean up the shower, dispose of those clothes, maybe you burn them, get rid of them, hide any evidence, hide the murder weapon, make sure that you cleaned up anything that you tracked in, you make sure you're calm and collected, that you're good to go, and you're back in the truck at 3:50, driving on your way to the fish store. That is impossible to pull off. And it's just another reason why Ron Logan isn't bridge guy. Okay, so to wrap this chapter up, Logan lies about his cousin's visits because he's scared to go to prison for driving with a suspended license, not because he needed to create a false alibi for the murders. The impossible timeline, the receipt from the fish store, and the cell phone data obtained from Ron Logan's phone provide the evidence that show he was elsewhere during the time of the murders, proving his innocence.
What do you think about that, Anthony?
I think Ron Logan is 100% innocent, and pointing the finger at him now is just a reaching for straws. It's absurd. It goes against any kind of respect for anybody, because law enforcement came out and said at the press conference that they were just saying stuff to implicate innocent people, and they were hurting people. People from the internet were doing this and perpetuating these stories. So that kind of stuff, I mean, the guy's dead. The guy, it happened on his property. If you don't think that they investigated him thoroughly, they got the first original search, then the police report, then another search, then they threw him in prison for 4 years, let him out because he's old and he just wanted to go home and die at home, you know, because he thought he didn't have much longer left. Well, he died a few years later, you know, at the beginning of 2022. They say 2020 in some media outlets, but it's 2022 in January. And his name just keeps getting brought up. You know, the resurfacing of that search warrant in 2023 that the murder sheet came across, or whatever it was, whoever it was, when they released that information, that brought out who I call the Loganites, a whole group of people who are like, see, he's the real killer. And ever since then, it's just been on and on and on and on. And then you had Connie Dillman go on Crime Nation and say that Ron Logan's the killer and that he had hurt her in the past. But then she comes on to my show and says that he lied. So, or that she lied, was asked to lie and lied about it. So you have things that, but people don't see all those things. The people that watch Crime Nation don't watch me, not all of them, right? So they never would have saw that interview.
Right.
So if they hadn't, then I still got it. I mean, I could play it for some people at some point, I guess. I'll play it. I'll just drop it as a short video on my thing. But to me, I think that Fig is 100% right in this case. I think that he nailed this right on the money. I think showing that warrant and that police report really helps give the real perspective and the truth behind everything, backed up with evidence.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I don't know what part this is. I might skip ahead a little bit because this is a fairly longer video.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is Anna talking.
Ever been cleared of anything like this on the most official of capacities, but Ron has not been looked at for a considerable amount of time because they do know where he was, and it was an unfortunate circumstance that his property line was where the girls were found.
All right, now let's take a look at these forensic photo comparisons, and I will try to behave. So this forensic photo comparison was done by world-renowned sketch artist.
Oh my goodness, do you remember when this stuff came out?
Lois Gibson. Oh my gosh. So Rich Ney brought this up on Crime Nation and saying that, this is a world-renowned sketch artist. She came up with this. And I'm like,
right.
Then my thought process was, well, I mean, I could take a picture and draw a picture, right? Or come up with a conclusion based on a picture. But I said it'd be different if the sketch artist was given like a description of a guy, kind of like this original sketch was. Right? Like the two sketches. Maybe if someone sat down and says, all right, this is what the dude looked like, and described a guy, and she drew a picture that looks like Ron Logan, I could see that. But you can't take a pixelated photo of Bridge Guy and determine who that guy is based on that, what she does here, because it doesn't make any sense. It's just you're stretching a picture out. It can make anybody any size.
Right.
Lois Gibson. And I don't want to take anything away from Lois because she's like a world-class sketch artist. And I just think she was set up to fail here, being asked to do something that is scientifically unsound and try to make it seem legit when it's not. So just right off the bat, the biggest knocks that there are about a photo comparison is the lack of standardization involved. It's highly subjective. There's the absence of statistical validation. There's confirmation bias because it doesn't include blind testing. And there's a high error rate. It's not an accurate method. In a true controlled comparison, the only variable should be the person in the photo that you're comparing to the control photo. But it is virtually impossible to do this task because to only have one variable, you need to have the test photo that you're comparing to the control photo. It would have to be taken at the same time by the same camera from the same angle using the same method by the same person. And each photo would need to be the same quality resolution, not to mention the subjects in each photo would need to be standing in the exact same location, having the same body pose, including their limbs, have to be in the exact same position. They would need to be dressed the same, which is very important. But with all those things said, let's take a look at it anyways. Okay, let's look at this first form of comparisons. All right, what she says here that it is impossible to make perfect comparison between individuals in different photos, which is correct. That is one thing we agree on. She acknowledges it's nearly impossible, but goes through with it anyways. Respect. Okay, let's keep going. Comparing suspect A to known person B, there are several similarities and one remarkable similarity. Okay. All right, so looking at this, A and B both seem to be males of similar height. Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, but we know for a fact they're not. Now we know,
Way different. Way different.
Yeah. 5'4" to 6'2". I mean, come on, that's a big difference.
That's a big difference. You would definitely know one from the next,
Exactly.
Because, when you scale things, you can make someone as tall or small as you want. So Lois also claims that both subjects have similar hip to shoulder width ratios. Okay. Subject B has unusually large, roundly protruding belly. Subject B has a jacket that appears, okay, here, she made a mistake here. So it looks like she made a mistake by saying instead of subject B has a jacket, I think she means subject A. So again, there's another variable, the human error element of things.
Oops.
But let's pretend she meant subject A has a jacket that appears to be accommodating to a belly that is the same size and shape as B. Please don't tell me this is a remarkable finding. So we're comparing
How can you compare
a person's
that?
belly that we could see because he's not having it concealed with a jacket.
They got the same belly. That's him for sure.
To a person who's wearing a jacket that is concealing their belly, and it looks like they have things jammed into their jacket. So we really have no idea how this person's belly looks. Like she's not even trying anymore. So imagine arguing this in court. So here's another photo comparison. Photo above left to right is the image of known person B, laid atop an image of a suspect A, and verifying degrees of transparency. Okay, let's stop here. All right.
No.
This is definitely a flawed method. And since there's no mention of space.
So someone asked, Sean asked if Betsy Blair saw a guy at the bridge. Why didn't she notice the guy being short? Well, one, it was from a distance, and you've been there, Sean, from the head of the bridge to the first platform. That's a good distance. Okay,
But
so that's a decent distance.
She was actually by the barrier, so it was even further of a distance for her.
Yeah, so she add another 20 feet. So, and also you have to think like there's no one there next to him, so it's hard to compare him and say he's short if there's nobody there with him. You could assume he's taller than what he really is, you know. And she, I don't remember what she looked like. Was she short or tall?
She was medium.
I get them mixed up. Which one was the one with the dyed hair?
She's not short like me, but she's not really.
She's taller than you?
She's taller than me, but she's not really, really extremely tall. It was hard to tell because I was sitting when I saw her. So, I would say medium. Not a lot taller than me, but not as tall as Ron Logan. You know?
Right. Yeah. There you go. I think he thinks.
Yeah. And that's why she couldn't. That is also why she could not see his face either well enough to identify him. All the identifications were made by the clothes he was wearing.
Yeah.
So all these people that are yelling about why didn't they say, is this the man you saw? Because none of them saw his face.
Right. But they came up with, I think, a damn good sketch. That first one, I think, is exact resemblance of what Richard Allen looked like at the time of the crime. A resemblance. It's not a photograph of him, but it's pretty close. It's got the goatee, the clothes. I mean, obviously the clothes, but I think it resembles him.
Okay, do you have access to control this?
Not. I don't think so. No, I don't. Okay. But I do have access to mute it.
All right, so if you need to talk over it, mute it or whatever.
I'll just mute it and let it play, yeah.
I'm going to run to the bathroom.
Okay, or just say, yeah, okay, I got it. Go ahead and let me see if I can play it. Go ahead and push play.
Facial scaling being used. I'm not going to.
Okay, muted, right? All right.
You have two different people and you want to compare them. You could just easily adjust it, scale it, all you
Did it mute when I do that, everybody? Is it muting when I push that button? That's my question. No, I can only hear it through your screen. So I can't hear it unless you have it muted. So when you mute your microphone, so I think when you share the screen, you have to click share audio as well. So you can just pause it. You can just pause it because I can't hear you. You're muted yourself. You know that, right?
Are you going to talk while I run to the bathroom?
Yeah, I'll just talk about it. Yep.
Okay.
So, well, what's going on, everybody? I'm Anthony Greeno here from the True Crime Rewind podcast. And if you didn't see from the beginning, what I'm doing on the podcast is bringing an AI assistant into what I do. And I'm doing that because I'm also learning from my affiliate programs how to use these programs and how to create custom AI, like basically an avatar of myself or anything to use for commercial purposes. So with this, I built an AI assistant that actually can research these things for me and give me all of the information that I need in a matter of literally milliseconds or seconds. It's really cool. The female's voice that you heard earlier and all that stuff was generated literally by a comment that I made. That whole beginning section of this minus the countdown thing that we were supposed to use yesterday, but it never uploaded. It actually generated all of that based on me giving it one command in one sentence. I said, make a podcast based on this, and gave it some information, and it ran with it. Now, this thing is extremely accurate. It has the ability to go grab case laws. identify inconsistencies in statements. For example, if I put a video link of Fig Solves in there, this one here, and say, can you identify the inconsistencies and the intentional lies or misinformation that's put out based on factual evidence? And these programs actually will do it. They will find it. It's really cool. Randy says I did a video on it this morning. It is actually really neat. So it was all Greeno's what? Bot crush. Yeah, my bot crush. Yeah. But anyway, so Ron Logan, I've met with Ron Logan. I've been to his house. I wrote Ron Logan when he was in jail, just like I write every single person of interest or contact every single person of interest that comes up during the course of my investigation into this case. And obviously Ron Logan was the person that everybody was looking into originally. Okay, now when Ron Logan was arrested, it caught my attention. I went to his property. I looked around on his property with Michael Catt. We went down onto his land because we knew he wasn't home, and we were just looking around. We walked from the cemetery to the crime scene. We went from the head of the bridge to the crime scene. We went all these different places. And during the course of all of that, including traveling across the bridge, it's really easy to determine kind of what happened by going there. And if you look at it, you say, I get wore out doing it if I tried it all, let alone fighting with people to kill them. I couldn't see a 77-year-old man, even if they say he was in good shape. Well, he was in good shape for a 77-year-old man. Okay. But Ron Logan wasn't getting out there and whooping the 22-year-old guy's ass. Okay. So,
and not only that, anytime we were there and Ron Logan would come check to see why we were there on the walks, he would always drive his little, what are they called?
His four-wheeler is, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he didn't know.
A fancy name for it, but he would never walk there. He would always drive.
Yeah. Yeah, he would always drive.
We had numerous people that he would stop and say, what's going on down there today? So
yeah. And you know what? And think of one of those videos, Stephanie. Remember Stephanie that showed up at the trail there that ran into him that day, and he wanted to know what was going on that day. I went over there and talked to him that day because he was mowing his grass. And we were all kind of congregating at the cemetery area. Like correct. Yeah. I'll be right back. Go ahead and play this if you want. I'll be right back. I got to go grab a drink.
All right. We're going to get back into the video here.
Here you can make them skinnier. So when you do scaling like this on a resized picture, it also distorts the image. So it potentially leads to incorrect conclusions. For instance, if you shrink someone down like this, their features become compressed and vice versa. What this does is you could essentially make two entirely different people appear very similar when they're not. So this is why this comparison is.
And I just want to explain, this is great what Fig is saying, because it also goes along with the BG video. And why that video was so distorted, because they enhanced it and took something that was so far away and blew it up. It distorted the pixels. And that's why we did not get a good image of Bridge Guy.
It's invalid and why it's unscientific. I mean, ideally, you would have one variable, maybe two, but there's over 10. I mean, it's just too much. This is invalid. This comparison means nothing. You might as well have a kid draw two different pictures in crayon and say those are the same people and they're both Ron Logan, or this is about as legit as that. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. You could check out this article. I'll put the link in the description and you could look and see what it says here. And now, speaking of unscientific, I'll do my own analysis, which is going to be subjective, but I want to get your opinion, not mine. Let's see what you think.
This ring here is worth $1 million. And
yeah, Fig's own analysis is subjective. But I think that overall his point here is accurate.
I do too.
I
really do. And a big thing is I'm glad that he shows these photos, because this is what Richard Allen looked like in 2017. Everybody looks at him now and says, oh, that couldn't be him. Well, that's not how he looked back then. Right after this is when he started changing the way he looked.
And you can clearly see from every single photograph that I've seen, every time we've seen him in public since he's been arrested, he's looked different. The first time he was arrested, he had a longer goatee. I call it the Odin beard or whatever. The long goatee, and he was a little bit chunkier. Next time we've seen him, he's all frail and about to die. Okay. And then the next time we see him, he's gained more weight. He's smiling. He's talking at court. Okay.
Right.
Then we see him again. He's all bummed out. You know what I mean? It's just, he changed every single time. And that's just what happens when you're in that
Even
position.
at the trial, he looked different from the other times. You know,
acted different. I mean, who did you see in the trial? Okay, who did you see before trial? What did you think about Richard Allen before we got to see him there in person? What did you think about him?
I thought I didn't think he was frail at that point, but I thought he was a skinnier guy, you know, that shaved head, you know, and he kind of reminded me of my dad when he was older, you know, just skinny, bald head, just a regular guy.
Just a regular guy. Now, see, when I looked at him going up to trial or you know, leading into that and watching him and just hearing all the things that were posted and stuff, I'm like, that dude's lying. He's faking. He's just putting on the crazy card, which not uncommon, I think, when you're facing life in prison. It's like, oh, I'm crazy, you know.
You obviously saw that he went through a transformation because of going from this to going to jail. You knew that he wasn't eating, and that's why he dropped the weight so much. That's the one thing that he could control, you know, not eating.
And lots of people do that. Lots of people do that. I've done it. Went on a hunger strike. I'm gonna harm my, you know, by not eating anymore. I'm not gonna eat anymore until I die. That's how you feel. And then guess what? Eventually you're like, oh, I might eat something. And then next thing you know, you're eating again, okay? Because you're not going to starve yourself to death. It's just not happening.
You only do it for so long.
Yeah. And Richard Allen wasn't tortured. For the people that think that he was tortured or his family was threatened by Odinists in Westville, that never actually happened. There's a footnote in the bottom section of that motion that says that this was all hypothetical and that if it did happen, it could have happened like this in that motion. So if you're going off of Odinist guards threatened Richard Allen and his family, that never actually happened.
Okay.
Transfer station versus what Bridge Guy was wearing. Obviously, Ron Logan's wearing these taller boots here, which if he was planning to take the girls across the creek, you would think he would keep those boots on. Those look a lot better than what Bridge Guy's wearing. Also, his pants are different, and Ron Logan just has longer legs than Bridge Guy, but they are dressed different. That means after this transfer station trip, he would have to go back home and change his clothes into something similar. Now, yes, he is dressed similar to Bridge Guy, but it's not exact if you take a good look at it. So why would he change out of these clothes and go put on different clothes that are less optimal for crossing a creek? Doesn't make any sense. He doesn't seem like the type of person to have wardrobe changes throughout the day. Look, the same clothes he's wearing here at the transfer station, he wears them just a few days later during an interview. So I doubt he has a bunch of clothes that he likes changing in and out of. Now, this is from an FBI case study where it involved 92 offenders. It compiles cases from 1960 to 2006. And what you're looking at is offenders versus victims' age. What I think is important is people 61 to 76 did not kill anyone. People 77 and up did not kill anyone. Now, Rick Allen is 44, so he falls into this area where there's 52 offenders.
I find that very, very fascinating, and I love how Fig does his research and gets you this different information as far as ages. 61 to 76 and 77 plus had zero.
Zero. You know what that means, right? That means he would be the only one.
Right. He would have been the only one in that age category to do something like this.
Ever.
Right.
He's definitely less likely to kill than someone who's 14 to 29. Or another way of looking at it is he's in the second highest bracket. Depends how you look at it. I did a search online and I looked for people in the United States, someone who would kill a stranger, as this situation calls for. And the oldest person I could find in America in history was a 76-year-old. So that means if Ron Logan was a killer, he would be the oldest person to ever kill strangers in the United States ever in the whole history.
I linked with her in the past.
Exactly. So one individual, you know. Fast forward.
Bottom line is, it was either their ex-boyfriend.
Oh yeah, that back that up just a hair, just a hair.
Oops.
They were pretty sure.
Right at the beginning of him.
Right about who Bridge Guy was.
So John Kelly's talking about, okay, now this is true because this happened with me, everybody. Majority of the tips that I got from people tipping in things to me because they just wanted to send it to me or give me information, all came from what he's about to say right here. And this is a world-renowned criminal profiler, John Kelly. So he's very good at what he does. He's been on television show. He's got all sorts of cool stuff going on. So go subscribe to John Kelly as well. John Kelly Profiler on YouTube.
Now let me tell you about the tip one that we had up there in Delphi.
Now they have,
and we would tell anybody that called up with a tip to give it to law enforcement. If they didn't want to talk to law enforcement, we send it over to law enforcement. Okay. This is very, very important. Okay. Because a person that seems to be accusing Ron Logan of being a killer is like his ex-girlfriend or an ex-wife or something like that. The tips we got, a lot of the tips we got that said it was a certain person, and these people were sure of it. And they were pretty much all women, and they were pretty sure that they were right about who Bridge Guy was. Well, the bottom line is it was either their ex-boyfriend or their ex-husband.
Yep.
Or somebody that was next door like a neighbor. But most of the tips on who Bridge Guy specifically was were from girlfriends, ex-girlfriends, and ex-wives. And we looked at all that. We looked at all the ones we got.
And that goes along with the woman that we also talked to.
I was just going to mention that.
Her husband, ex-husband, or whatever, you know. So we got those too. And it's crazy that, you know, he said that, and that's what we experienced too.
It's all it's been. I mean, I'm sure all my ex-girlfriends have tipped me in. So anybody, I'm sure of it. I mean, that is true, though. Everybody that got tipped in was most likely tipped in by somebody, a female that they know, you know, which is interesting. That you know that it happens like that. You know, just the statistics of that are very interesting.
It is. It's amazing.
Okay, and I believe that they believed they were 100% correct, because you know, Bridge Guy, based on what we could see, looked like pretty much anybody.
Yep.
Okay. But they totally believed it was their ex. And I believe that's what they believed. Not that they were lying or making it up. They just believed that based on whatever took place in their relationship. So I think that's important for you all to know.
Now think about it. How many tips were sent in this case? Thousands upon thousands of tips.
Thousands and thousands, yeah.
So how many of those tips came from a disgruntled ex-girlfriend or ex-wife that had to have been gone through?
A lot. I think almost all of them. Not all, but a lot of them.
I would say a good portion of them.
A good portion. And I mean, it gets so deep, everybody, that like people are getting arrested for calling people the Bridge Guy.
Yes.
Literally.
The lady we talked to got arrested and went to jail for it.
Yeah. Big time on a felony. Felonies for saying that, because they're like, she knows he's not the Bridge Guy. And that's a lie, and that's hurting him. So they arrested her for it. So they're
Yeah.
getting serious with this accusing innocent people type thing.
Right.
Okay, because this, an ex-girlfriend or wife coming forward, blaming it on an ex-husband because of the domestic problems they had in their marriage or relationship. I have to tell you, it's all too often very common.
It is very
to get those on tip lines, and we've seen it many, many, many times.
Have you ever entered a site that looked real?
Yeah, and she didn't. Here's one thing I wanted to say. I see someone saying something about what Connie had said. I talked to Connie for hours and hours and hours. Okay, and I recorded all of it, and I have it still. And I submitted some of that to the court in my March filing about the contempt hearing. That I never didn't believe Connie when she said that Ron abused her. If that's what she says happened, I'm inclined to believe that story. I do not believe that she believes that he is Bridge Guy, based on her statements on recording to me that said that she was asked to lie by another individual who's a YouTuber to help persuade people into something that's not really true.
Yeah. And we have gotten confirmation that neither one of the girls knew Ron Logan before this happened.
And there was no hog roast that weekend. Yeah. So Ron Logan's confessions or the jailhouse thug. So have we gotten into that yet? So
no, we should.
We should, everybody. So we have some information that's going to.
Everybody got a good sense of what Fig is saying here. So
exactly. So I think, yeah, we could pull that off. Do you want to pull up whatever, are you going to show that?
Yes.
I think you should. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have, as you see from the thumbnail, a polygraph examination and the results of that polygraph. And who is this polygraph of, Marv?
This polygraph is of Ricci Davis, the cellmate of Ron Logan, that claims that Ron Logan told him, confessed to him, that he is the one that killed the girls.
Exactly.
So, let me do a present here.
Keegan did fail a polygraph test too. And there's more to that. You always figure that one out in the future.
Okay, so we're going to start with Defendant's Exhibit 4C because this is the statement that Ricci Davis made on 6/21/2017. Now, Andrea, thankfully, helped me
transcribe that. Oh, thank God.
Yes.
I can read it if you want. If you pull it up on the screen, here we go. And what am I reading? All of this? I can't read that part of it.
No. So this is the original. Okay. And this is what we have it's saying.
Okay. So where do I start, Mr. Logan?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Logan has spoke referring to the killings in Delphi, Indiana. He told me he was in the area when he killed these girls, that it got out of hand. He walked with them in the woods to his property, and the girls walked to turn back and said something about calling the police. He grabbed the youngest girl to reassure her it was okay. However, they panicked, and he also panicked. He indicated he ended up cutting the oldest with a box cutter. He went on telling me that he killed both of them because it was taken too far.
Now, that is what this first document says.
A very interesting point in there is the box cutter.
The box cutter is the biggest thing.
Now, everyone says that. How did he know that?
We're not sure.
Or did he just randomly guess it right?
Right.
That's a weird coincidence, kind of like some of the stuff Elvis Field said. So odd.
Right. And then you've got the defendant's exhibit 4B. Uh-oh, I lost my screen here. Hang on.
Okay, so 4B is the written one, and then this one over here is the transcribed one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this says...
Hang on.
Okay, this is...
Now, some of the words we could not figure out. We tried to do our best, but we couldn't figure them out, so we just skipped it. But this is what we have.
All right, so it says page 1, Hansard, walking, thinking about, knowing one of their dads, ventured, not sure if it's ventured or volunteered, is right here. So walked with them. One of them wanted to turn around, grabbed youngest shoulder. It's okay. Oldest freaked out, got paranoid, and grabbed her. One said something about calling police. Sexual attack wasn't true. Not sure if that's right. Originally not trying to rape them. Paranoid about probation. Felt like he crossed the line when he grabbed the youngest one. Page 2, he started talking ironic. Should have been in school. Talking to them. Knew one of their moms worked at a bar. Animals walked with them. Willing to go check out horses. And he said he told them he had rabbits in barn. Walk through trail in woods. Oldest, paranoid. Didn't want go. Youngest wanted to see horses. He started. Oldest tried to help youngest. Oldest started, question mark. Can't read the word. Youngest started screaming. He now grabs oldest. He said he got hit on the nose. Scared he got blood on one of the girls. Pulled box cutter out. Slit oldest ones. Hit an artery. Youngest scared, etc. Took little girl with him for a while. Never said where. He said he cut her to cut both necks. He left again. Came back later in the evening. Search going on later on late hours. Tried to move oldest one to area not going to be found. Place where four-wheelers couldn't go. Not sure if couldn't is right. Go burn clothes in burn pile. Hiking boots. Gloves bag. Not sure if bag is right. Could soles of boots be buried? Not sure if buried is right. In the burn pile. Next morning, more girls knocked on the door, asked to search on property. Felt weird if he said no. He let them take off, got a hold of a family member to get out of the area. First time he'd seen them from property. Horse, bring into easy guns, etc. Not sure if the last part starting with horse is right. During struggle, youngest girl scream. Not. Can't read the words, so it was a question mark. Happened to friend ashamed to, question mark, not sure what the question mark word is. Their head back, neck, not sure if neck is right and what the next word is. So there are a bunch of numbers on a page. 3 months from Pendleton. He got here 2 months in 4-pod dorm. Originally pod lined together. He's wanted to set up JPay account. Helped him with that. Started talking uncomfortable circumstances in protective custody. Talking about it, beginning modifying county charges, talking and walking around first male comments, losing wasn't, not sure if wasn't is right, film footage, etc. That don't look like me. Started talking to Bunky, different scenarios, drinking on probation that day. He came home, went out, said he seen girls at 2 different encounters. Second, shook up, walked off. Came back from rabbits, chasing wild rabbits, squirrels first. Can't make out the question mark word here. So, and then Marv's thoughts. So that's whatever. What do you think, Marv?
So I think this is the craziest thing in the world. I think this gentleman could have gotten the oldest. I mean, he never says their names. He always says oldest and youngest in here. The fact that he says that they went walking through the trail where we walk to get to the scene, I can't see that happening. If that happened, Libby would have taken video of it. There's no mention of the fact of on the bridge. We know the video was taken on the bridge where he said, go down the hill. We know that there was slide marks on the south side of the hill, or south side of the bridge, because we have evidence of it and witness testimony of it. We know now that the clothes and the shoe, and I believe the scarf, was found on the south side of the bridge. Nothing, not on the north side.
Yeah, not on the north side. And there's
side, Brad Weber's side, not the side they were found.
Yeah. So yeah, and so that is also, there's no mention of here about undressing. There's no mention about going down the hill. There's no mention about a van. All this stuff, like they didn't even cross a creek in this story here, left through the cemetery. There's nothing here that identifies to me Ron Logan here. I mean, if you told me that story, I wouldn't say Ron Logan.
And he said SA. Well, we know Libby was found naked.
And we've known that since the beginning.
And we
when
know
Erskine
that
leaked those texts.
At one point, Abby was also, because she was wearing Libby's jeans and swim sweatshirt. So
yeah, and basically,
none of this makes sense, except for the only aha thing of how did he get the box cutter part right?
Good guess. I mean,
now, yeah. As I was looking through these pages, I came across this page. And to me, that screamed out polygraph results. You're muted.
I don't know if is this the numbers here?
This is the numbers.
Oh, these are the numbers. Okay, yes. So these are the polygraph results here. So, yeah. So what do these numbers indicate here? And there is a website here, everybody, or an expert group here in Indiana that can actually go over this stuff right here and explain how they come to these conclusions and all that stuff. If you want a more in detailed analysis, we're trying to get someone to come on and do an interview about polygraphs because it's good to know for the future.
Well, I went to ChatGPT for help on this. And so it says polygraph results are typically visualized as a series of graphs or charts that represent the physiological responses of the examinee during the test. Here's what they generally look like and include. Respiration. 2 separate tracings represent chest, thoracic, and abdominal breathing patterns. These lines rise and fall with each breath, showing the depth and rate of breathing. Then there's the electrodermal activity, known as EDA. This tracing shows changes in skin conductance, which can increase when someone is nervous or stressed. It's usually represented as a wavy line that rises with increased sweat gland activity. Question markers. Each chart is marked with indicators for when specific questions were asked. For example, markers might denote relevant, irrelevant, or control questions. Each chart is marked with indicators for when specific questions were asked. For example, markers might denote relevant, irrelevant, or control questions. Okay, this allows the examiner to correlate the physiological responses with specific questions. Baseline and reactions. Examiners look for deviations from the baseline, normal, or calm state that occur during relevant and controlled questions. Spikes or unusual patterns in the graph may indicate a physiological reaction. Modern polygraphs typically display results digitally on a computer screen, but older systems may use paper scrolls to record the tracings. They, again, top panel respiration tracing, middle panel EDA tracing, bottom panel cardiovascular tracing, vertical lines denoting when each question is asked. So I noticed on the graphs that they had PICC in the columns. And I'll show you that.
And what does that mean?
So right here on each one, it says PICC, PICC. So what I did is I asked ChatGPT in polygraph terminology. PICC stands for purposeful, independent, consistent, and concurrent. These are principles used to evaluate physiological responses during a polygraph examination. Here's the breakdown. Purposeful. The response must be intentional and directly related to the test stimulus. Example, a question asked during the examination. Hang on a minute.
All right, so she's going over that. Let me see if I can see this thing here. I'm not very good at seeing it. Let's see, where are we at? Examinations. I'm not sure where we're at here. Questions asked during the examination. Independent. The response should occur in a I can't see it. Physiological channel that operates independently from others. Heart rate versus skin conductance. Consistent. The response pattern should repeat under similar conditions or with similar stimuli. Concurrent. The response should happen at the same time as the relevant stimulus, like a question that triggers a reaction. And these criteria help examiners identify whether a physiological change is significant and potentially indicative of a deception. So, and then you asked what the plus or minus meant.
Yes.
So it says in polygraph results, plus and minus signs are used in the numerical scoring process to indicate whether the physiological response to specific questions suggest truthfulness, which is a plus, or deception, which is a minus. Here is a detailed explanation. The numerical scoring in polygraph testing is the examiners assign numerical values to psychological or physiological responses for relevant questions, those tied to the issue being tested, and compare them to the control questions, neutral or unrelated questions designed to provoke a stress response. Responses are scored based on the magnitude and direction of changes in physiological channels, like respiration, electrodermal activity, or heart rate. Meaning of signs. The plus sign indicates the physiological response to the control question was stronger than the response to the relevant question. This is interpreted as a truthful response. The minus sign indicates that the physiological response to the relevant question was stronger than the response to the control question. This is often interpreted as a deceptive response, and 0 indicates no significant difference between the responses to the control and relevant questions. The magnitude of scores, the scores are assigned on a scale of, for example, -3 to +3 or similar. The magnitude reflects the strength of the responses. -3 is a strong indication of deception. +3 is a strong indication of truthfulness, and 0 is inconclusive or no significant difference. The final interpretation, the total scores for all relevant and control questions are added together to determine the overall result. A positive total suggests truthfulness, a negative total suggests deception, and a score of 0 is often considered inconclusive. And what did he score, Marv?
Okay, so this is the big part here. Let me just get rid of that now. Oh, I lost my page. Here we go. Nope. All right, as I'm finding that, hang on a minute, I got to bring it up again. I know for a fact that he scored a -7, a -3.
I can't find it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if I closed it, but
Closed
I'll
it.
here in just a second.
All right. So we're going to pull that up while she's pulling that up, ladies and gentlemen.
Right
I
here.
am reading your comments. Okay, so here it is. Here's the score sheet.
So as you can see, there the PICC -1, there was a 0, -1, -1, -1, +1, 0, -1, total of -3. Here it was a total of -1, which gave him a -4.
On a total overall score.
Yes, which states that he was deceptive in his the totality of the answers when you look at everything. Because
Yeah,
remember, it said -3 and above is deception.
Yeah, well, it said anything in the minuses.
Right.
Is what it said. So, yeah.
But strong indicator of deception.
Is -3, but yeah.
Yes. So this one here tells me he was asked 3 questions, which is normal in a polygraph when they're trying to get truth or deception. So there's a 0 and a -1, +1, +1, a -1, a -1, a -1, and a -1. So you have a -1 plus a -2 with a total score of -3, showing deception.
Meaning, ladies and gentlemen, that Ricci's testimony that he gave, that this confession of Ron Logan's was absolutely false. It didn't happen. It never happened. This guy was just looking to get out of jail or get some sort of a deal because he's serving 50 for dealing dope.
Right.
Plain and simple. Dude's looking to get out of there. Why not pin it on somebody else to get out of there? People do it all the time.
So after doing this, we know that they do polygraphs to determine whether somebody is telling you the truth or not. Can they be what is the word I want?
Admitted as evidence?
No, it cannot be admitted into evidence. That's the thing. Okay? But it can tell the detectives whether they should believe what this person is stating or not.
Right.
And
it can help the investigation.
Right. And since this is showing deception, not telling the truth, they couldn't go by his story of what happened. And none of the physical evidence at the bridge that day or the crime scene went along with his story.
Exactly. So that means there's no evidence, there's no link, there's no nexus, because this guy said that Ron Logan said this. That's hearsay in the first place. Okay?
Right.
So, I mean, that would be like me right now, everybody, saying that Marv did it. Okay. Now, because I come out and say that, does that mean that she did? Are you guys going to freak out and say, well, she did it now because I said that? No, you would probably say you're lying. Okay. Right. Especially if I didn't have any proof of it. So you got to take it with what it really is. This guy's saying stuff. There's no evidence to back that up. Now, if this guy brings hard evidence and shows me something that says, here's proof Ron Logan said it, here's a recording of it, here's this or that.
If his story said that they were on the bridge and he took them down the hill and, got paranoid and then made them cross the creek, yeah, then I would have believed it.
Yeah, it would have named things that happened. Yeah.
It wasn't even in the right area versus north side versus south side. I mean, that's a big difference. There's a freaking creek right in the middle.
Yeah, and he called him like you said earlier, oldest and youngest. I mean, he didn't list them as like the smaller girl and the bigger girl. I mean, how would he know that they were older? Okay, I mean, only from news stories. He didn't name them by name. Ron knows them by name. Ron knows their families by name, so I'm assuming he would have mentioned their names when talking about them, not just say the younger girl or the older girl.
But he probably wouldn't have even known who they were that day because they didn't know him.
Well, I'm talking about after he went to jail. After this guy, right? So he would have known about the story and everything because they searched his home and stuff. So he would have known who they are. He would have had paperwork that says this is who they are and stuff like that. So
and the worst part is, I don't think that the freaking defense realized what they had on this piece of paper.
That's what I was saying yesterday. These guys are not smart defense attorneys. They're just throwing stuff out there for the conspiracy cranks to jump on it, because they don't even know that they're giving us the information that clears this guy, that clears Ron Logan right now. You know what I mean? Like, they're giving us a story, but then the opposite evidence to back their claims. And I don't even think they know what they have, which is funny because the defense team told on themselves here, ladies and gentlemen. They put out a document that gave us that the guy was lying about it.
Right. That's what I'm like. Oh my God. What are they thinking? No wonder why this was not allowed in court.
Yeah, because it's a lie. I mean, if you can just lie in court, which, I mean, you're supposed to swear under oath not to lie.
Right.
If you can just go file documents that lie all the time, then just...
And people were saying, hey, he was trying to get out of jail. No, the dude knew he wasn't going to get out of jail by giving this information. But if he had told the truth, they may have worked with him, got him a better situation, knocked off a little bit of time. But
he wasn't walking. Yeah.
No.
Straight out. Not straight out. Especially considering it would have happened at that time, right? Because that was not long after the murders. Now, if you'd have waited 8 years and this dude came out and says, all right, man, I got some information and I got proof of it, then they might start talking like, okay, well, you've been in jail for 10, 15 years. All right, man, we could maybe cut you loose if you give us the Delphi killer, you know, since it's been so long, if you got information. But that didn't happen like that.
Yeah.
This happened as soon as he possibly could.
And the thing I don't get is, why do people believe this confession versus 61 confessions by Richard Allen?
Exactly. How does this guy's confession outweigh Richard Allen's confession? I mean, Richard Allen spoke, or someone actually said it the other way around. They said, well, if his is fake, so is Richard Allen's. Okay. Well, Richard Allen said things that nobody knew, or that only investigators knew. Okay. Now, this guy didn't say anything, because first, you got to think about this. This is hearsay, everybody. The guy said he heard it from Ron Logan. Then he reiterates that story to someone else. That's hearsay in court. Can't even use that. So how many times have you guys taken a story or played that telephone game and told someone something and then watched what it came back to you as? Completely different story. That's what happened here. Is this guy made up a story, said things. The media is putting out things. And this is what I don't like about mainstream media. Max Lewis earlier today put out a news thing, and it said that Ron Logan made confessions. And that's what everybody's saying, is Ron Logan made confessions that he killed the girls. That's not even true.
No.
He didn't make any of that. And that's the problem, is you got all these mainstream outlets saying confessions by Ron Logan. Well, they should say fabricated confessions by Ron Logan.
It shouldn't even say that. It should say fabricated confessions by Ron Logan's bunkie in prison.
Bunkie, yeah. Yeah. Ron Logan's bunkie lies to implicate innocent man. That should be the headline. Yeah. So charge him. You know what? I think they should charge him with another crime. Perjury for signing that document under oath and saying that he swears under the penalties of perjury that he is telling the truth to the investigators and nothing but the truth, which is furthest from the truth.
Yeah. And okay, felt like he crossed the line when he grabbed the youngest one. Why would you feel like you crossed the line? You know,
yeah, why did he grab her? I mean, what's
right?
That story doesn't make any sense.
And there could have been you're trying to tell me that Ron Logan just said he felt like he crossed the line because he grabbed the youngest one. If he was going to truly confess in a step-by-step manner, like the defense wants you to believe, there would be a lot more detail in this.
It would be a lot of detail. And one thing to consider, this guy didn't mention anything about, he didn't say that Ron pulled out a gun. He didn't say that Ron said he was wearing a blue coat and a hat or whatever. He didn't say that he walked up. If Ron did all this and said all this, then who the hell is the bridge guy?
Right.
Okay. Is that Ron Logan? Because I didn't hear anything about a gun being pulled out, saying down the hill, going down a hill, going on seeing a van. None of this.
There's nothing in here about being on the south side of the bridge and going down the hills and having the skid marks on those hills and the clothes being found on the south side. There was no mention of either one of the girls being unclothed. I mean, these are key aspects in the case.
Well, think about one thing that also is a discrepancy in his written statement. The next day, it said he called someone to get out of the area. The next day, it said that. Ron Logan didn't need to get out of the area. He lived there. Why would he leave the area? Why would he get out of the? You need to hurry up and get out of the area. That right there shows me that that statement is false, and that dude has no idea what he's talking about because he didn't realize Ron Logan lives right there on the property.
No.
He thinks the dude had to get away.
You misread that. It said try to move oldest one to area not going to be found.
No, there was something else that said called the next day to get out of the area or something like that. It was either in that or the first thing I read.
He got a hold of the family members because those young girls knocked on his door and asked to search his property. He didn't want anybody on his property, so he got a hold of the families and told them to get them out of that area.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So how did he get a hold of the families? He just randomly knew their phone number? You know what I mean? Like those things that he says in there doesn't.
I'm sure he knew somebody that could have gotten a hold of the Patties, but.
Right. And that kind of differs from Ron Logan's testimony on Inside Edition when he said the next day a neighbor stopped back here and asked for permission to look for the girls or that night or whatever it was. And it was Pat Brown. It was Pat. Yeah. It was Pat Brown. Yeah. Who testified in court.
Right.
So who found the bodies, so yeah, this guy's story doesn't make any sense. It's full of holes. And you know what? We should talk to him and pick his brain. We should really talk to him. I know how to connect with him. I'm going to have to get you set up on this thing so you can talk to him. You can easily just message him right there.
Okay.
And he'll message right back whenever he gets access to it. So it won't be no later than 11 o'clock p.m. and as early as 6.
Okay.
You can talk to him.
So, once again, I'm like, it just doesn't make sense.
No, it don't make sense. And so, for anybody out there in the chat,
the only thing that gets me is the box cutter and the fact that he said he slit the oldest one and hit an artery. Nobody knew that.
Nobody knew that, but I would say
word had gotten out.
Well, I would say that that's probably not something too uncommon to think. Like if they got stabbed, where would someone stab someone? Probably in the, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean in the neck. Did he say in the neck?
Yes, he said
he did. Okay.
Cut both necks.
Well, that information was leased from the uncle, Dave Erskine. So we knew that they had their throats slit. We knew that there were sticks on the girls, right? We knew that they had cuts on their neck. We knew that the sticks were there. We knew that one of them was at least partially nude. There's lots of things that we've known about from the beginning that this guy could have picked off on.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Yeah, true. The uncle. There it is, the uncle's text.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean that's what you said is kind of right on cue with it.
Yeah. But
so
like I said, once again, the defense team shows its incompetence by releasing these documents and having the freaking polygraph results right there showing deception.
Exactly. And there was something in here yesterday that I screenshotted that was sent to me by one of our viewers that we met at trial.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can go to my messages and grab it real quick. And I'm going to explain this. So, yeah, here it is. So, right there. Okay, so she sent me this. And thank you very much. I don't know if you want your name said, so I'm not going to say it. But if you're in the chat or if you hear this later on, thank you very much. And it was so lovely to meet you. So it says, typically, A state. Oh, hang on. Where are we at here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. So this is overcrowding. Okay. Indiana Code 353311-3 says overcrowding or inadequacy of local penal facility. Section 3, upon petition by the sheriff alleging that the local facility is overcrowded or otherwise physically inadequate to house an inmate, another sheriff or the commissioner of the Department of Corrections has agreed to accept custody of the inmates from a sheriff. The court may order inmates transferred to the custody if the person who has agreed to accept custody, whichever transfer order is necessary under the section. Only inmates serving a sentence after conviction for a crime may be transferred, unless the overcrowding or inadequacy of the facility also requires a transfer of inmates awaiting trial or sentencing. Section 4 is returned to county jail whenever the court finds that the circumstances of which the needed transfer is over. The inmate should be transferred back to the county penal facility. And determining whether an inmate is in immediate danger or of serious bodily injury or death, it represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. The court finds that the inmate is in danger of serious bodily injury or death or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. It shall order the sheriff to transfer the inmate to another county jail or facility of the Department of Corrections designated by the commissioner or the Department of suitable for the confinement of that prisoner, provided that space is available. The inmate receiving the authority is entitled to a post-transfer hearing, and the inmate may refuse a transfer if the only issue is for his personal safety. Now it says that you do not have a state-appointed attorney known as a public defender not considered your attorney after sentencing. It says that an inmate in jail does not have to have an attorney or have an attorney present to have this happen. It can be done by the court, a sheriff, or somebody else, a prosecutor, anybody like that. You don't have to have an attorney present to make this happen. So that's a big thing everybody says. He didn't have counsel with him when they moved him. It's not required by law.
No.
At all. So the law is there. I'll post this on my community page so you guys can see it. It's not required to have a lawyer present in court in Indiana for a safekeeping order, but it is recommended for the client. A lawyer can help you ensure and understand your rights and legal options. It's not required, but a lawyer can help you navigate the outcome of it.
Right.
So that's what it says. I'm going to post that to my community page for everybody so you can see that law and know about it.
Yeah. I agree. So, Frank says Pat Brown is a family member, so he would have known how to get a hold of the family.
Of who?
Of Abby and Libby.
Which one? Which one?
Libby.
And how is he related? That may be how Pat got involved in the first place.
Right.
He broke down at trial.
Oh, he did. Completely did.
And to think how many people called him the suspect. It's horrible. That's so bad. So, I mean, if he is a family member, it still doesn't mean that this guy is telling the truth.
Right.
You know what I mean? This Ricky Davis guy. Because he's not telling the truth. He's a liar. He lied about this to try to get out or get a better deal for himself. Core never added what to his report?
That he thought it was a box cutter.
Right.
That's
yeah.
The defense had such a fit when he said that in trial.
Right. Now that's such a weird thing. And some of this stuff. Okay, this is the weirdest for someone getting into true crime and like YouTube. This is my first and only case. I mean, like this is the weirdest thing ever, isn't it? I mean, there's so many weird twists and ties between people and things that have happened that are just way too coincidental, but totally unexplained. And it's like,
each case has its own thing. I mean, the Tabitha case has its twists and turns and theories, and
that's your first case, right?
God.
That you're like literally, and it's a nightmare when you start digging through this. Like I couldn't imagine. This is only me thinking from my perspective, as one person looking into all this. Is this shit is confusing, and if you missed one thing, one court document, one sentence, you miss a ton. You know what I mean? Because one sentence in this case or any case could literally change your whole mind about everything. You know what I mean? Like that whole Odin report, or that whole he got threatened by Odinist. That one sentence at the very end, the footnote says it never actually happened. Right on the very bottom of that document, and it's like nobody read that part because it was tiny little print at the bottom.
Davey, I can tell you, I originally thought that too until I saw the actual wounds myself. And
I'll be right back. Give me just a couple minutes, okay?
Okay. The box cutter was actually the perfect thing to use for that, especially if you're in close what I call combat with another individual. They're not trying to stab them like somebody else. All these other murders that we've seen, they stab them over and over and over and over again. It wasn't like that in this case. With Abby, it was one nick, about yay big, just happened to hit her jugular, and it was all done. With Libby, you knew there was a fight. She wasn't sitting still. They described how there was 3 gashes in her throat. And what he described is you could tell that the person in each gash, especially the first 2, made like a swipe and then a swipe to form an X. And that opening came huge. One of her carotid arteries was completely severed. The other was partially severed, and her jugular was severed. Now, she did have a couple other injuries, one on her shoulder and one on her chest, as if somebody kind of nicked her with the blade of it. But that was it. But it was awful. And then on I don't remember if it was the right side or the left side, is where it showed the scratches and this weird pattern. And that's how he came to the conclusion that this was a box cutter, because of the handle on the box cutter and the piece that sticks out that would have formed the scratches. Frank says the Supreme Court also agreed with what Greeno was reading. Yep. No, I don't think the jury made a mistake. I wonder if Ron's family has any recourse on this BS. Well, if I wish that Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Elvis Fields, now Ron Logan had some kind of recourse, because this is ridiculous. They are outright coming out and naming people, saying that they are the murderers. Hang on one second, guys. I got to take this. Okay. So I have an answer for Anthony when he comes back. I wish there was some way you could stop this from happening. You're welcome. I try to explain everything. You know, Anthony is he's the one that can put things really well into videos. He's imaginative. I am the fact checker. I am the researcher. So together we actually work out pretty well. Defense is truly a joke. They're trying to throw a narrative that will stick. Right. And when their oldest one didn't stick, now they're going after Ron Logan. But in my opinion, they made a complete blunder by putting the polygraph results right in there. And I don't think they knew what it was. Right. And I do agree with you that not knowing the questions, but you know the questions were related to what Ron Logan told them. Because otherwise, why would they ask questions that weren't related to the confession or what Ron Logan said to him? It wouldn't even pay to do the polygraph then. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they knew it was the polygraph scores on that page. All right. Yeah, it is sad if they didn't know. So I got to talk to Anthony because there's still two parts of all this documents that were dropped. The part of the attorney. Did he have an attorney? Did he not have an attorney at the time that the safekeeping was done? And the phone with the jack. Was something put into the jack? Was it dirt? Was it water? You know, so I know that we want to do some additional research on that, try to get somebody to come in and talk to us about it. Anthony, do you want to go live? What is the day tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday?
Friday night.
Okay. Do you want to go live tomorrow night and talk about that?
Which part? Say it again.
The
safekeeping order.
Yeah, and the phone jack.
Yes, yeah, and we've been trying to get a hold of someone from Apple to give us some information on that, to kind of tell, how that works. An expert of some sort that can tell us in detail more of an analytical stand or position on it, that knows about it versus us just trying to tell you about it.
Right. But tomorrow night, at least we can go through the documents of that part of it and tell you about it. And then as soon as we find somebody that that can help give us more information, we'll bring them on if they'll come on.
If they'll come on. Yeah, exactly. And that's not always a given that people will come on, but I hope that they would,
Right.
So, all right. Let's see here.
To answer your question, Anthony.
Yes.
So one of Becky's sisters was married to Pat Brown.
Okay, so he's by relative. Okay, by marriage, he's connected to him. Okay, right. Interesting. See, everybody's connected in some weird way here, which is just weird, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool though. I mean, it's cool because it's interesting to go through all these things and find out who is connected to who, why, how, what role do they play in this whole scenario. Everyone has a little specific role, and it's just kind of like interesting to uncover all that information over the course of the last 8 years.
Right.
You know? So before, I'm assuming we're getting ready to wrap up.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we go, everybody, on the 13th and 14th, I'm going to be at the Monon High Bridge Trail filming some stuff. If you'd like to meet me or whoever can come, I would appreciate it. No matter how cold it's going to get, I'm going to be there. So the 13th and the 14th of February, I'll be at the Monon High Bridge for a significant part of the day.
Please do not go out there if it is the kind of temperature that we got this last week, where we had actual temperature of minus 22, feels like minus 38.
I will be frozen solid, standing there like a statue waiting for you to arrive in summer.
Yeah. Not happening.
Not happening. All right, everybody.
All right. So then after tomorrow's stream of going through the lawyer and the phone, I need to take Sunday off. No, tomorrow's Friday. Saturday night. Do you want to do like a question and answer and have people come up and ask questions or ask questions in the chat, and we can answer them?
Yeah, that would be actually a good idea. So Saturday questions and answers and call-ins. Yeah.
Yeah. And then tomorrow night talk about the phone and the lawyer.
Yeah. Yep. I'm game to do that.
Okay, tomorrow night I need it to be 8 my time, 9 your time.
Okay.
Because I have some running around that I have to do. Saturday we can do it whenever.
Okay. Yeah, that works for me. Works perfect for me. I'm game.
Tomorrow's live stream will be 9 p.m. Eastern. Like
9 p.m. Eastern. Yep. 9 p.m. Eastern. 8 o'clock Central.
Yep.
Blah, 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 blah. You already know, everybody. If you're on the West Coast, it'll be 6 o'clock p.m. for you.
Yeah.
So there you go. And if you're over somewhere else, I don't know what time it's going to be. So there you go, everybody.
Tomorrow night will be the lawyer and the phone. Saturday night, join us. You know, if you have questions and we haven't answered, and the chat was going quick and we were trying to get through the information, so I know there's things we missed, join us on Saturday to ask those questions. Come up on the stream. You don't have to show your face on here. You can leave the camera off. But come up and talk to us and ask your questions. And if we don't have an answer for you, we'll find it.
We'll find an answer real quick, and we'll show you what our AI programs can do. So we'll show you how quick we can come up with some solutions and some answers, and we'll even show you exactly what it would say if we asked it the same question.
Right.
To see what kind of answer it would generate. So these things are really cool that we're using. It helps us research and compile evidence.
So much better.
You can throw a document in this and tell it to give you tell you what it's about. It will do it. And then you can say, take all these documents and now identify inconsistencies. It does this stuff for you. So it's almost like an investigator itself, everybody, that helps us break down and analyze information based on specific facts. So
I didn't know all this information on polygraphs until I threw my questions into Chat GPT, and it gave a great breakdown of what it was.
I love it. And it gives us information to be able to tell you guys, you know?
Yes.
So it's really good stuff that we're using. Don't be scared of the AI programs. It's not going to take over the world. It's just good things to have. It helps you complete smaller tasks with the ultimate goal of a bigger task in mind.
Yep. Please make sure that you hit the like button. Leave comments down below the video if you're watching one of our viewers that watched the replay and couldn't see it firsthand. I do look at the comments, not always able to respond to them. A lot of times I don't or can't. But I at least try to look at them. So
Same. And my new channel, I don't have a lot of people on there, so if you guys comment, I'm definitely going to see it. It's at True Crime Rewind Podcast on YouTube, and it's available on Spotify as well. So that's where you can find me. I'm going to switch over from the Investigation Unsolved to this one more permanently, but there's more people that reaches the other one. So jump over here, everybody.
The YouTube link in there. So
got it. So yeah, find me over here, everybody. There's the logo. That's the link.
Yep.
Well, I guess on that note, everybody, I'm Anthony Greeno from the True Crime Rewind Podcast. Until next time, I'll be keeping it Southern style.
And I'm Marv. And just remember, justice matters for each and every victim and family member or loved one.
Peace out, everybody.